Hi everyone, it's me. Welcome to today's video. We are standing up again today because we are doing another oddly specific book recs video today. And it's so funny, okay, because I was taking a look at my first oddly specific book recs video that I did a couple months ago because I was going through the comments of that video to find prompts for this one. And when I opened the video, I noticed I was literally wearing the exact same thing the last time we did this. So this little blue cherry dress is now the uniform for oddly specific book recs. We will never ever be able to give oddly specific book recs without wearing this, okay? Anyways, I did collect a whole bunch of your requests for oddly specific book recs from the comment section of that video, and so let's just get straight into it. The first one is, this one's not too specific, it's not too challenging. I thought this would be a good one to just help warm up and get into it. But the first ask is for books that give Hunger Games and Inheritance Games vibes with contests, trials, puzzles, but are not Light Lark. I personally have not read Light Lark, so I don't know exactly what you're trying to avoid here, but in terms of games with contests, trials, puzzles, all that fun stuff, I've definitely got you with that one. Let's see. So these two books are both fantasies. They're actually both more like romantasies, but when I read them, I loved the trials in these ones. I immediately noticed them for their creativity. They aren't like your usual types of trials. There are themes attached to each trial, each challenge, and for that, I really commend these authors. The first one is The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owen. This one is like an urban fantasy twist on Greek mythology, which is super fun. We are set in modern day San Francisco, but our world is kind of ruled by Greek gods, and every 100 years they host this contest called the Crucible, where each god picks a champion to go into this crucible. I think there are like 12 or 13 trials in here, and they're all based on like the different strengths of the gods, like the specific powers and focus on them. So we have different trials. Some of them focus more on strength, some of them focus more on wit, and I thought they were done super, super well. And the other one has a little bit of a darker gothic tone, so Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. I have talked about this book several times on this channel, so you're probably very familiar with it, but I would describe this as like a darker, adult, spicier version of a Caraval. In the first book, we follow Ophelia, who enters this deadly game called Phantasma to help save her sister, and in this contest, all the trials in this one are all based on the Rings of Hell. So again, very, very creative trials, something that's not just your usual like combat trial. There are puzzles involved, there's like mystery and magic, and those are your two trials, contest, puzzle books. Our next ask is for, okay, there are a lot of little subgenres in here, okay? We have a request for queer, gothic, historical, murder, mystery, fantasy. So that is five different levels of criteria that we're gonna try and match here. I'm gonna have to cook a little bit with this one. Let's take a look around. Okay, I found a bunch, and none of these I don't think actually fit every single piece of criteria here, but they may hit like 4 out of 5 of your prompts. The first one is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. This is a YA romantasy trilogy, but this one hits the gothic, the historical, murder mystery, and fantasy. The only one it doesn't hit is queer, but we definitely have a gothic setting. We also are set in and around Regency era vibes. We definitely have a murder mystery, and it's definitely a fantasy. So this one hits 4 out of 5. The next one I have for you is Immortal Dark by Tagaste Girma. This one hits it kind of has the queer element. The main characters are not queer, but there is representation of queer characters in here. We have a gothic setting. I don't know if this is really technically historical, but it doesn't feel completely modern day. It feels kind of period, a little bit at least. We do have a murder mystery, or at least like a mystery missing persons case, and this is a fantasy. We do have vampires in this book. So again, kind of 4 out of 5 here. We're missing the historical element, but we've got the rest. We also have dark academia in here. I think that's what gives this a little bit more of a historical vibe is, I don't know, for some reason, dark academia books I kind of always associate with historical. I don't think I've read too many modern day dark academia books, so this one may fit. Another book I thought of was Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. This is her release from this year. Also a vampire vampire book actually, but V.E. Schwab herself and her entire marketing team always presents this as a book about toxic lesbian vampires, and that is very much what this book is about. So this one hits the queer element for sure. We do have a gothic setting, also a historical setting. We are missing a murder mystery. There's maybe like a few little mysterious elements to this book, but we don't have like a, you know, a one murder mystery case that we're following. And this is a fantasy, a vampire fantasy. So this one hits 4 out of 5 of your criteria, but I think that's pretty dang good. And then 2 other books that I can think of that I don't have physical copies of are The Witchwood Knot by Olivia Atwater. This one is gothic, historical, and a fantasy, and there's not a murder mystery but a missing persons mystery. And the other one I thought of that like kind of fits is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This one is queer, a little bit gothic maybe, definitely historical, definitely a murder mystery, but is missing the fantasy. So I could not find a single book that hit all of your points here, but I found 5 that hit 4 out of 5 of them. So hopefully that is good enough. Okay, the next request is a spy book. I don't think I've read too many spy books. Like maybe when I was a kid, I read a bunch of them. There is one that's coming to mind. It is First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. This one, it's kind of like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith kind of a setup where we have a couple, they are living together, but our main protagonist is undercover and is only really with this person for an undercover case that she is working on. So she has assumed this entire secret identity. She is kind of spying on him, gathering intel. She has like a task that she needs to pull off. And so that's definitely like spy vibes there. It is a fun thriller type of a book, and I remember enjoying it because it was one of those like exciting in the moment thrillers. I think a lot of mystery thrillers that I've read follow things that have happened in the past. It's like, oh, something's happened in the past and now 30 years later we're going back to revisit that case. You know what I mean? I think there are a lot of thrillers like that, but I enjoyed this one for being in the moment. It's not like a past mystery that we're trying to solve. It is something that is just unfolding in real time before our very own eyes. So that one was definitely very fun. And then another book that I've recently read, this is definitely not just like a spy book. I would not classify this in like the spy genre primarily, but An Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. This one is a YA fantasy, but we do have a little bit of a spy thing going on because our main character, Leia, the main premise of her plot in the first book is she goes undercover as a slave to spy on certain people in this like sort of like like a military setting. And so she has to figure things out, find things out, and then report them back to this uprising, this rebellion group. So there's definitely a spy element in here. Definitely not like a spy book by any means, but there is some sort of a spy thing going on. So maybe this one loosely fits as well. Okay, and then thank you for starting your prompt with this one might be overly specific. In Bridgerton, Eloise starts to fall in love with this boy at the printer. That Regency era, a girl from a well-off background and a boy from a working class, poor background. Oh, you know what? I do love this type of a story, but thinking about it and looking around, I don't know if I've even like read that many Regency era books. I love the Regency era, but I think I've watched it more than read it. Okay, I do have Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater, which may fit this. This is a cozy fantasy, so it's not quite real world like Bridgerton, but we are set in the Regency era. Our main protagonist has had some sort of like a curse placed on her, so she is kind of like in society. She's not like super high in society, but she is like a part of one of those families that are, you know, that will enter like the courting season. But there's always been something a little bit off about her, especially socially, because she is missing half of her soul. And that's kind of the curse that was placed on her when she was a child. And the male character that she meets in this one is not necessarily like someone who's poor or like printer vibes, but he is definitely someone who's a little bit more of a maverick, is a little bit more like people kind of look down upon him because he's a sorcerer and he's kind of like a trickster. So people don't have very much respect for him. So we do get a little bit of those vibes of like, ooh, like should you really be talking to him kind of a thing. And I feel like that's is what you're kind of looking for here. So if you don't mind a little bit of a magical twist with that, this one I think is the closest I can think of that fits this prompt. And just something else that does give Regency era vibes is Earl Crush by Alexandra Vasti. I'm gonna be completely honest, I didn't absolutely love this book, but I did find bits of it funny. But in this one we follow an heiress. She is very well off, but she doesn't really have anything to do with her money. She's a little bit socially awkward, so she's never really had hopes that she would marry anyone. When one day she starts this kind of like pen pal relationship with this Earl, they end up really kind of clicking through these letters, and so she just decides to go out and meet him and surprise him. But when she shows up, she realizes it's not really the Earl that she was writing to. And so we get this kind of dynamic where she's like kind of a rich heiress, and the person she's talking to was not the person she thought she was talking to, and maybe someone who's like a little bit lower in ranking. So this one might fit your vibes as well. It's not exactly those vibes, but it's like the closest I could think of. All right, what's next? Ooh, this one's interesting. A fantasy book with a humor or comedic character. I feel like so many of the fantasies I read are so serious. Who's funny? Who's funny? Oh, they are kind of funny. So this is Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. This one basically follows two characters that could not be more different. Yumi is this like really obedient, spiritual, always obeys and follows her orders type of a character. And then we have the Nightmare Painter, who is just kind of like, he's not that hardworking. He's kind of lost all hope like for his dreams and his ambitions, and he's just kind of like coasting along in life. The two of them are from separate worlds, but in a twist of fate, they do end up meeting each other, and then they have to figure out what really happened along the way. They learn a lot more about each other and themselves. And I found the dynamic between the two of them was actually kind of funny because they are both so different, and the way they both kind of teased each other and pointed out each other's flaws and kind of made jokes about each other, I found was really funny. So I would definitely say that these two characters are comedic, and it was definitely elevated by the situation they were in and the things they were trying to figure out and all the obstacles that came their way. But I would definitely say, yeah, this was a fantasy where the characters were a little bit goofy in an unexpected way. So there we have it. I also have to mention the gargoyle in The Night and the Moth. He's not the main protagonist, but he's definitely there for a lot of the story. He was just so well written, had a really good serious arc as well, but was just so funny throughout this entire book, which was also really unexpected because this book has such a serious tone. It's so misty and atmospheric and gothic and a little bit dark, but then we have like this really funny character that is with us the entire way. And so yeah, definitely the gargoyle. And another one is behind you. I have to give a shout out to Sorcery of Small Magics by Mega Ducey. This one is a cozy fantasy. I find that with fantasies, if you want a goofy character, cozy fantasies tend to give you that a lot more, but this one is a queer cozy fantasy. We follow Leovander Lovage, and he's definitely a bit of a silly character because he's one of those underdog types of characters. He has never really been able to do serious magic. That's kind of his whole shtick in this book. The only type of magic he is capable of doing is really just like party tricks, small things, changing appearance, playing pranks, that kind of stuff. So because of that, the nature of his character is just a little bit silly and goofy and a fun time. And then the situation he gets into in this book is also just like a little bit silly. He has this academic rival who is like that brooding type, completely opposite of him, very talented, but one day they find themselves in a situation where Leovander has been cursed to obey this like rival, and they have to go on this quest, figure things out, and the whole thing is just like a little bit silly. It's cozy, but the plot is also wonderful. So you should probably read this one as well. The next prompt is coming of age story, thinking book version of Now and Then or The Sandlot. Oh my gosh, Now and Then. I remember really loving that movie when I was younger. Wow, I have not watched that movie in so long, but okay. So we're thinking like group of friends, nostalgia, riding bikes around kind of thing, like growing up together. Okay. I have to preface this one by saying I did not love this book, okay? But I know a lot of people did. Most people love this book. I am the exception. Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. This one definitely does capture those now and then vibes, I think. We follow two friends from childhood to adulthood as they meet each other, support each other, but also like screw each other over as well. Like just like their messy relationship from childhood to adulthood, we follow all of that. In their younger years, we definitely have those like bike rides like through the neighborhood kind of thing, like going over to each other's houses, sneaking out, doing teenager stuff, and then yeah, growing up to be the adults that they end up being. So this definitely gives those like now and then coming of age vibes. I personally did not love this book because I found the friendship to be very toxic and I could not support the friendship. This book was just very frustrating for me to read, but most people I know absolutely love this book. So I'm definitely in the minority. Maybe don't listen to me when I say I don't like this book. Definitely give it a try because so many people love it. I will also have to say My Friends by Fredrik Backman. I know, I've talked about this book so much recently, but it's a new release that I read recently and I loved it so much. So I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop talking about it. But this one also has that element of like flashing back to a friend group. There's lots of like the bike riding things. There's lots of like teenage years, going out, finding each other, supporting each other, kind of escaping the negativity that is in your home with your parents and family, and like going out and being with your friends and supporting each other. Coming of age that way. And I think the dual timeline in this also gives now and then vibes with like the flashing forward and the flashing back. Just an absolutely wonderful read. Love the friend group in this. Definitely gave that like nostalgic, heartwarming vibe. So My Friends. Okay, this next one's gonna be a little bit tricky for me. This one is a mystery set in New York or another big city with dark academia vibes. So I don't read too much like mystery or mystery thriller, but the first one that's coming to mind is If We Were Villains by ML Rio. I think we're kind of missing that big city vibe that you want with this one, but we definitely have the dark academia. We definitely have the mystery. We're missing the whole city thing. This one follows a group of students who are studying Shakespeare. There is a big mystery that happened. Someone did get murdered, and we kind of have these like flashbacks, flash forwards as we follow our main character who in the present day timeline is currently in jail for that case. But we're kind of trying to flashback, find clues to see if he actually did it or not. There's not much to do with the big city in this one at all. Maybe Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This one also definitely has dark academia, a bit of a mystery, and this one is set at Yale University, so we don't have very much big city stuff going on, but we do sometimes like leave campus, go into New Haven, and kind of have some scenes that go out of the city. We also do have some like timeline flashbacks, and some of those timeline flashbacks are more set in a city, so we have that as well. Maybe that fits. But yeah, that one's a little bit of a tricky one for me. So if there's anyone watching who has a better answer for this prompt, definitely leave it in the comments below. Let's help each other out and get everyone the perfect Rex that they can get. Okay, the next is a book that will leave me speechless at the end. It's gotta be Recursion by Blake Crouch. This one is just like still at the top of my mind. It is a sci-fi that I recently read that like at the end of it, it literally, I don't know how much I can say about why this left me speechless at the end because I don't want to spoil things, but let me just tell you the ending was very unexpected, okay? I'm just gonna leave it there. This is a sci-fi book. Actually, this one might fit the mystery set in New York prompt as well, because we follow Barry, who is a detective in New York City. So we have those New York City, big city vibes, and he's currently investigating a case where people start getting all of these really detailed memories of a whole alternate life that they never had. So that's our mystery element, but we tie everything in with like sci-fi. Obviously, this is a sci-fi book, and I don't want to say too much about this book because I want you to experience it. But yeah, the ending of this book was absolutely insane. Definitely left me speechless, so can't think of a more perfect book than this one. Okay, you guys are really challenging me with the mystery asks, knowing that mystery is not my strength, but this next one is a book that has none of this is true vibes by Lisa Jewell. Unreliable narrator, not being sure whether to believe them, etc., and how they intertwine into other people's lives. I'm looking at my two little baby mystery shelves down there. Oh, I got you. This is Who is Maud Dixon by Alexandra Andrews. I read this quite a while ago, so I'm gonna be honest, the details of this book have kind of left me, but this one follows Florence. She's had dreams of being a famous writer. She lives in New York City, and she gets this job to become the assistant of this really, really well-known novelist named Maud Dixon. This famous author's identity has always been a secret. She's always written under like a pen name, never really revealed who she was, has never done interviews or public appearances. So Florence is just really excited to find out who Maud Dixon is and kind of pick her brain about stuff and learn under her. But when she gets there and starts working, she starts seeing things that don't really add up, seeing things that seem a little bit weird. And without saying too much, we do get that kind of a similar vibe that was in None of This Is True, where we have a character that starts to kind of try to like take over the other one's life, like starts, I don't know, wearing their stuff, going through their closets, that kind of like behavior that we got in None of This Is True. We do get some of that in here. So I think this one, yeah, I think this one's a great rec for you. Next up, we have a vibes prompt. So we want a book that would smell like rain and earth. Rain and Earth. A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. For sure, this entire book was rainy. I can't remember a single day in this book that we were not in torrential downpour. Like, it's literally called A Study in Drowning. Our environment that we're in is literally, like, it's literally drowning. Like, the earth is giving away. That's kind of a big theme in this book, is that, like, the earth is going to be flooded and it's always rainy. So, like, rain, earth, smell, we have all that in here. We do follow a student, Effie. She is studying architecture, but she's always wanted to study writing, like literature. But one day she sees a competition that is hosted by the family of her favorite late author to like redesign one of his houses. So she enters, she goes, and we follow her as we go on from there. There's definitely a lot of darkness in here. We have that like dark type of fairy. We have a fairy king type of a character, kind of like dark stories, nightmares. That's a big theme as well. And yeah, it's very rainy, very earthy. Would definitely recommend. And then I'm actually also going to say my current read, The Wild Huntress by Emily Lloyd Jones. This one is definitely very earthy, not so much rainy, but like as I'm reading this, I can smell the forest, if that makes sense. I think this is honestly a book that would have been better for me to pick up in the fall because it's very, very foresty, very, very earthy, but I am enjoying this even though we are in the summer months. It's another actually like fairy fantasy. This one is based on Welsh mythology, and in this world we have 2 kingdoms. Every 5 years they host a wild hunt, and we follow 3 different POVs as they enter this wild hunt. One of them, Bronwyn, is a hunter who she's been touched by magic as a child by accident, so she's always been able to see magic. That's her little gift. We follow Gwydion, who is like an underdog in his noble family. His power is that he can manipulate plants and trees and stuff. And then we follow Pryderi, who is a prince that was taken by monsters as a kid and raised by monsters. So we definitely have some interesting characters that we're following in here, and this one definitely gives earthy vibes, not so much rainy vibes, but like you could probably still read this on a nice rainy day and it would give that feeling because we're so like leafy and foresty. So there we go. We have a couple more to go through. The next one is a book with very lyrical poetic prose that kind of makes no sense, like The Starless Sea or This Is How You Lose the Time War vibes. I haven't read The Starless Sea. That's by Erin Morgenstern, but I mean, if you haven't read The Night Circus, also by Erin Morgenstern, I would say definitely start there. Definitely very lyrical prose, and like for most of the book you're kind of just like, what is going on? Like, it's a beautiful world, beautiful story, beautiful setting, but you're constantly trying to puzzle things together. And then I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't tend to love books that like are just pretty words and don't really like have a plot or don't really make too much sense. Like, I need something, like something tangible in the plot to hold on to. So I did read This Is How You Lose the Time War, and I'll be completely honest, I did not enjoy that book. I thought it was a beautiful book of words, but like, what the heck was going on there? But a book that I think sort of kind of fits under that vibe is Shark Heart by Emily Haybeck, another one I recently read. This one definitely has very poetic writing. Even the formatting of this book kind of feels like a poetry book, but it's not poetry. It all still still has a narrative line throughout the entire book, but it's definitely very, very poetic writing, beautiful prose, very artistic, and I absolutely loved this book so much. That's my one recommendation for you. And I think we have time for one more. So let's see. Contemporary romance with some common fantasy tropes, i.e. magical artifacts, forbidden love, trials, quests, etc. This one's kind of a fun one. So I recently read Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. So this is a contemporary romance with magical realism. This one felt like a full-blown musical in a book form in the absolute best way. So in this book we follow Joni, who is a songwriter. She has writer's block though. So she decides to leave LA temporarily, go home back to her little small hometown for a little break, a little rest. Also, she has a lot of family stuff going on, so she's also going back to help them out, help support them, and also to just like have some time with her childhood best friend again and hope to get her inspiration back. One day, she starts hearing this half-formed song in her head. It's kind of just a little melody, there's nothing too much going on. It's definitely not a complete song, but along with that little tune in her head comes this voice. She starts talking to this voice in her head, realizes that they are just both in each other's heads at this point and they can both hear this same unfinished song. So they have to figure out how to get the song out of their head, why the heck the song is in their head, and how to solve all their issues. So this is definitely a contemporary romance. It has that little magic element to it, but the trope, like the common fantasy trope in here, I would say, is that telepathy kind of thing. Like, you know, in fantasy books where our main characters are mind connected and they can speak to each other through like telepathy. We have that trope in this book, and I've never actually read that trope in a contemporary romance because obviously, like, why would that exist in a contemporary romance? But I loved it so much. I love that trope where characters can speak to each other through each other's minds. I feel like you learn so much about them. It also tends to end up in really witty banter. And so yeah, I love that. If you're looking for a romance that has kind of those like romantasy tropes, but like is not actually a romantasy, definitely read this one. I could also maybe suggest I Am Not Jessica Chen by Anne Liang. This one is a YA romance, again with a little bit of a magical realism element. We follow Jenna Chen, who is in high school. She's always wanted to be more like her cousin Jessica Chen, who is like the shiny version of her essentially. One day she makes a wish and we have this sort of Freaky Friday type of incident where she wakes up in her cousin's body. So we kind of go on this quest, you could say, to figure out what's going on, how to get her own life back. So we kind of have some like fantasy tropey elements in there as well, but we are essentially a contemporary romance. All right, I think we've been yapping on for quite a little while today, so I'm actually gonna leave you guys here for now. I hope you enjoyed these oddly specific book recs. If you did like this video, please leave me a like and a comment, and if you want to see me do this again, leave me some more prompts for more oddly specific book recs in the comments, and we can kind of keep this as an ongoing thing. I think I definitely have a lot of fun doing these types of videos. It forces me to like go outside of my usual zone and recommend books that I maybe normally wouldn't recommend or like normally think of. So yeah, I love doing these and I hope you love watching these as well. But all that to say, if you like me, subscribe, do that bell thing, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!